atmosphere is crazy steep. Like you feel like you don't want to lean over. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael. How's it going? Good.
Yep. Yep.
You can probably read from that far, you're better than me.
You can see the M. See the M, yeah. Thank you.
Are we live?
We're live.
Okay, perfect. All right. I'll go ahead and call to order the February 7th, 2026 meeting of the Lynn Benton Lincoln Education Service District Board of Directors, and then we'll start with introductions. So in the room, let's start at the end with Hyro and then just go around the table. And then our guests we have today will go ahead and have you introduce yourselves too, and we'll just go from that end to that end after we finish. And then if Lori is online, then she can go.
Perfect.
All right.
Hyro Bass, Cybersecurity Technician.
Tim Jones, Executive IT Officer.
Christina Wonderly, Executive Human Resources Director.
Eddie Symington, Board of Directors, Zone 7.
Michael Thompson, Board of Directors, Zone 3.
Bill Hayes, Board of Directors, Zone 1.
Jason Hayes, Superintendent.
Amy Vetter, she, her, Board of Directors, Zone 5.
Miriam Cummins, she, her, ella, Board of Directors for Zone 6.
Nancy Griffith, Superintendent.
Robert Ware, Executive Financial Officer.
Steve Martinelli, Interim Director of Cascade Regional Inclusive Services.
Brandina Lancaster, I am Augmentative Communications Specialist and Traumatic Brain Injury Consultant for the ESD.
Lisa Shane, Executive Assistant and Board Secretary.
Rose Colbert.
Heather Lauterbach. Thank you. And
I think Lori's in there now.
Okay. We'll give it just a sec.
Hi, Lori, can you hear us?
Yes, I've been having technical difficulty.
No worries. It's good timing. We just did introductions in the room, so you can introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Lori Greenfield. I'm Director for Zone 2.
Perfect. All right, next, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then next up, we have monthly acknowledgements.
Yeah, I'll just point you to page 4 of your packet. So February honors is African American History Month, and this is a time to honor the achievements, contributions, and lived experience of African Americans throughout history and today. This originated from Carter Woodson's establishment of Negro History Week in 1926. So it goes back 100 years, which is pretty wild to think about. This month has long served as an intentional space to ensure that African American history is recognized as an essential part of our shared national history. So I just invite you to think about this observance and reflect on the enduring impact African Americans have had in shaping education, civic life, culture, science, and public service, often in the face of profound barriers and injustice. Thank you. A little bit more in there that you can read, but
Thank you. All right, so next up we have public comment. So it says first we have Heather Lauterbach. So you may have the floor.
I would say just stand right up here, and then everybody here can see you, but also Lori Greenfield will be able to see you with the screen. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Good evening, board members and staff. My name is Heather Lauterbach. I live in the Corvallis School District. I'm here tonight to express my sincere gratitude for the services provided by Lynn Benton Lincoln Education Service District. My family has experienced firsthand the life-changing impact of your work. My son struggled significantly with communication from a very young age. He was nonverbal, and we were unsure how to help him find his voice. Through LBLESD's early intervention and speech services, he began using augmentative and alternative communication device, and that was our first real bridge into his world. He received in-home speech therapy and as he transitioned into preschool, he continues receiving weekly support. Over time, we watched him grow in confidence and ability. Recently, he was reevaluated to determine whether he still qualified for services. He did not. That moment was a huge milestone for our family. It meant that he had gained the skills and independence he needed to move forward without early intervention. You have to ring the bell. I don't know if you guys are.
Yeah, right on.
Okay, so, the progress he made has touched every part of his life. His ability to communicate has opened doors socially, emotionally, and academically. He can interact with peers, express his needs, and share his wonderful and fun personality and talk about his interests. Things he simply could not do before. Watching him step into himself has been one of the greatest gifts that we've received as a family. I want to especially acknowledge the audiology evaluations, the AAC support, and the in-home services, and the early intervention programs that guided him through each step. These services change lives. They set children up for long-term success, and they give families hope during some of the most uncertain times. As a parent with other children in the Corvallis School District, I also want to share concerns. I worry that not all families fully understand or access the services available through LBLESD, and these programs may not always be championed or utilized to their full potential. I want every child, including my own, to have the same opportunity to support that supported my son and through this educational service. So tonight I want to express both my gratitude and encouragement. Please continue to protect, strengthen, and expand these essential programs. They matter, they make a difference, and they are exactly the kind of services that help children thrive and families feel supported. Thank you for your work and the impact that you've made on my family.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. That really, it hits home for us to see the impact. That was, yes,
Yeah.
super powerful. Thank you.
Oh,
No,
no,
it's fine. Thank you so much. All right, Will Rodenkalber, I am sorry if I mispronounced that.
All right, I'm used to that. I wanted Heather to go first, because I wanted to start with the fact that as a parent of a 2-year-old, we're starting that journey with our son, early intervention as well. And, he actually had his first in-home, session last week. So, she's at the end of that journey and we're at the beginning, but through this, evaluation process, he has seen the compassion and professionalism of this educational service district, and we really appreciate it as parents. So I wanted to say that at the beginning. I also want to come with an ask that's completely unrelated. As you may or may not know, I am the chief petitioner of the school board recall effort in Corvallis. Contentious and divisive situation in our community. But I wanted to come to you because there is a provision in the state statute that may affect you as board members if the majority of the board is recalled. And I'm not coming to you asking for a decision now. What I'm coming for you is for clarification. Because we have community members in Corvallis that are deeply polarized and believe that because this ESD is located in Albany, that you as board members are somehow politically aligned with one party or the other. And they're concerned that if you were to choose new board members in our community, that they wouldn't align with our community's best interests or our values. So I know that I have emailed correspondence with board chair and superintendent, and I respect that private conversation that we've had. I appreciate it. I'm asking you as board members, as chair and superintendent, please take the time during the question period, not to have a conversation with me, but to articulate in your own words how you would go about choosing board members in a hypothetical situation to alleviate the stress in our community, show them, as much as you've shown me, how good people.
Thank you.
can speak on that.
during board director reports. That'd be the best spot on the
Yeah.
agenda for it.
We'll address it during,
Yeah, appreciate it.
board director
Yep.
reports. Thank you so
I
much.
just wanted a little.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Fantastic, thank you.
Just picking a good spot. for
Yeah.
the board to
Yeah,
do that.
exactly. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, dialogue?
Thanks, Lisa, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say no. All right, it has been unanimously approved. Okay, and then next up is we have our board vote for nomination for the chair-elect of the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts. And we have on page
13 and 14.
Thank you.
Yep.
13 and 14. So it looks like Jill from Malheur ESD and Paul from Columbia Gorge ESD. So now is the time for discussion.
And if I may, Madam
Yes,
Chair,
please.
just in terms of process for new board members, how this works is that the board would, if you so choose to nominate one of these people, Jill or Paul, you would make a motion on that, and then the board would have one vote that would go to OAESD, and then Lisa would just fill out the form that they give on behalf of whatever you choose.
Exactly. It was
Yep.
like when you were voting for
For
OSBA
exactly,
position 10.
same thing.
We ourselves don't get to choose. It's all the districts in the region, or actually probably all of all of OAESD.
It's all of
because
OAESD,
yeah.
all the ESD, all 19 ESD.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, but we get to put in our vote on our decision.
Yep.
These are tricky when you've never met the person and you don't know anything but what they've decided to put in writing. Does anybody have any experience with either one of them, or Jason?
Yeah, I've met both of them, and they've both been people that have been really involved in OAESD over the years that I've been a part of the group, and honestly, you couldn't go wrong with either one of the people. So, I believe that Jill has been for the last, she is the current chair, so she's interested in continuing doing it, so.
Excuse me.
Oregon, which I would.
Yes, Lori.
Did Jill come to one of our early meetings, or was that at that thing that Jason, you and I were at, where it was something earlier in the fall where there were all the other districts there? Was she present at that?
Yeah, I believe she was at that.
Yeah, I did meet her, but she seemed nice, but this other fellow, Paul, seems to have a lot of good things to bring to the position as well, so.
They're both lovely people.
I guess I lean toward Jill, not only as an incumbent, but representing a very rural part of our state that is often overlooked.
I would support that nomination.
Go ahead.
I said
Yeah, Lori?
I would support that nomination.
Thanks, Bill. I think you just made a nomination.
That's a nominee.
Well, I second the nomination of Jill.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to nominate Jill Conant of Malheur ESD as the board chair-elect of the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts. Does anyone have any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Okay. It has been unanimously approved to nominate Jill Conant of Malheur ESD as chair-elect of the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts. Okay, and the next up is board professional development next steps. So,
Yeah, so this was something that in board prep with Amy and Miriam, that they asked for there to be a continued discussion from the retreat.
okay.
In terms of, does the board decide to do some sort of next step in terms of shaping what board professional development looks like or anything like that. So leave it to you all for a discussion.
We had a pretty robust discussion during our retreat, but we didn't really come to any decisions. Just kind of expressed opinions and concerns and thoughts. Has anyone had any further reflection that they'd like to share?
No, I think it was a good discussion last time, and we seem to be reticent to put any hard caps or limits on ourselves. That's my sense. I know for myself, I probably will peruse agendas of like OSBA, the Oregon, their acronym, the Oregon version of ESD.
Yeah, OASD.
Yeah, if I
So
see
many
things,
acronyms.
yeah, and kind of focus on those if I see something I want to do. That's my. And frankly, I think that should be all of our kind of focus is less on the national ones. So there's some quality stuff to learn there. So that's the thing. I'm not trying to go to say no. It seems like no one wants to say no amongst our group, and I just think we have to. I think the answer is we take a hard look at what we want to learn, and pass. There's nothing that grabs us.
I think what is hard when it comes to out-of-state conferences is sometimes they don't provide the agenda till way later. So you have to register for it first, and then they provide
True.
the agenda. So it's really hard to know what the topics are going to be about if we want to sign up. So like I have attended the NSBA Equity Symposium. I have attended many of the out-of-state ones. And some of them, I've done it through the Color Caucus Scholarship. I haven't, so there's ways that we can navigate if that is something we want to go. But when it comes to knowing what those topics are, we don't know until like a month or two before it starts, because they're still taking applications in for panels and all of that. So it's really hard, I guess, for me to say not to offer that opportunity, because in many of the conferences I have attended out of state, they have been very useful, especially in how other states navigate special education or services, because I feel like if another state is doing something that it could benefit us, bringing in that knowledge is very important, and how we are able to provide services to our students and to our families, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel if the wheel is already being invented. And so that's like kind of why I'm so hesitant in putting a cap, because a lot of those opportunities, especially when it comes to my learning and how to be an effective board member, has come from out-of-state conferences. And so I don't know, I want to come up with a solution and a way to how we can still provide that opportunity to offer that to school board members. I unfortunately, as you all know, I was sick, so I couldn't think. I couldn't be in that mindset of strategic thinking and strategy. But this is something I feel like we could navigate, and if it's a number that we put out of how much per board member each member gets to be able to use, I would like to navigate that, but I don't want to make a decision yet without the information provided. So, and again, I apologize, I was sick, and I wasn't able to come up with some solutions at this moment.
I have a question for Lisa. How much lead time do you need? Is it pretty much the same for all these conferences as far as pre-registering big groups, or is it change for all of them?
They're all a little bit different. Some of them, it could be 3-6 months beforehand that they open up a block of hotel rooms. And that's the tricky part, is the hotel rooms. Not registering for the conference, but getting a hotel room, that's close. So when they open the block, I try and get at least a few hotel rooms reserved just in case somebody wants to go, and then I can release them. That's the tricky, not the registry.
Are there any conferences where it's less expensive to register ahead of time?
Going with their block of rooms is always cheaper than doing it on our own. We always get a really good deal. We go through them to register, or to reserve the room.
And a lot of times, I would say, and a lot of times that what you can do, if you're not necessarily sure, and to Miriam's point, that sometimes conferences don't release all of the breakout session information and whatnot, you know, when they're doing the registration part of it, is that we could get rooms because those can be released without any penalty or cost. And a lot of conferences, you can actually cancel by a certain date as well. So it's possible to register for something and then see what it looks like, and then as long as we cancel before the cancellation date, we're not out anything.
It's usually about a month ahead of time that we have to cancel to get notice.
So it's possible to do that,
Do they generally release the agendas or like the content?
Everyone is different.
They're all different, It's usually, I would say, 6 weeks, anywhere from probably a month, 4 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there, depending on which it is.
I think any of us are ready to fabricate some sort of plan that would not become a problem at some point.
And Denise isn't here too, so we're missing a voice in the discussion. Just in my own personal input of like what I have felt that I've gained the most from, is, conferences that are geared specifically towards our sort of organization, rather than like, I mean, I've gotten good stuff from OSBA too, but, I have kind of the last couple of years, when I've been able to go to conference focused on the OAESD conference, because it's for ESD, so everything is really relevant. And then the AESA, which is the national version, so that's just personally what I've been choosing. Just, there is more of it is relevant, than, because there is a lot of relevant content in the other OSBA conferences too, but, not everything, because some of the content is more geared towards school districts. But, and then I'm just putting out my 2 cents about what I've kind of factored in and what I've decided to go to the last few years.
Like for me, I like one of the ones that I have attended in the past, I haven't been able to gone for the past 2-3 years, is the NSBA Equity Symposium. And the reason why I like attending those, and the last time I have attended, I was under the Color Caucus Scholarship. But what I find very useful with those is that we actually got to meet with our U.S. representatives and congressmen. And so in those spaces, we were able to actually be in front of them, talk about what's going on in Oregon, and try to implement some change in policy. So those I find very helpful, and very much as an advocate myself, to be able to not only advocate for Oregon, but for our students, especially in our area. And so that's one that I haven't attended, I think, 2-3 years. But that is one of the ones that I really enjoy going, because then I'm able to utilize my skills and also be a voice as a school board member, to be able to fight for our students, to be able to get resources here, make sure that they know about the budget and impact that they're doing on their decisions when it comes to budgeting and policy.
I think we're halfway through a year right now, and I think that in a way, it may be best for us just to limp through with how we normally do. But do we do a board retreat in like August? Is that
We haven't for the last few years, but we've done some work sessions at different times during that time frame, and so it could be, and our July and August meetings typically have a lighter agenda, so it could be something the board could spend time talking more about this summer
I'd like to,
for the next year.
my opinion is I'd like to see us really think of what a professional development plan looks like for the board. Because I think that if we spend lots of money traveling somewhere, that it should align with what our board goals are and what our organization's goals are, our values, you know, and come up with a really clear board professional development plan early in the year, so that as every one of those conferences come up, we are thinking, does this fit our board development plan? What are we going to come back with? How does it actually support the mission of the organization, the board's goals, and then go from there. And maybe that plan means that we pick delegates to go, and I don't know, I think that's all part of making a professional development plan, but I think that I almost think that we need to develop a plan before we start looking at the conferences, because it's very easy to look at a conference and find things worth going to. And so the next thing you know, you make your plan to fit the desire to go to a conference. And I think we need to have the plan then and almost use it as a lens to look at a conference and go, does this meet what our goals are?
I agree with Eddie's motion.
Yeah, I agree that we take time and come up.
Yeah.
Especially for next school year. I think, like Eddie mentioned, already we're almost over halfway done with the school year. So I think if we start implementing and talking about it, having something set and you know, set, then we can look at next school year, and then from then on, you know, as we see fit, as future years come, we can always change it, revise it. But yeah, I think something to put in place for next school year starting.
Makes sense.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't be fiscally responsible for the rest of the year, though. I just want to throw that out there.
Good point.
And I wanted to say, Lori, a little shout out to you, because your email response back about the potential visit to, was it long-term care and treatment, really changed my mindset. I think that we have an organization full of experts, and I think that we offer services that are incredible, and I think we've got enough things to learn in our own backyard. So I thank you for that 2 cents worth, because it definitely shifted my thinking about how I want to just dig into our own backyard and learn from the people we have here.
Piggybacking off that, when I went to the OAESD conference this last May, what I gained the most from was actually our own ESD employee presentation.
Oh, during the breakout session?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just
Which we
being,
can do,
Which
we
don't have
certainly
to-
can do those types of things too.
Exactly.
Like, we could do our own little mini board retreat type, like PD retreat with multiple sessions, and I can ask staff to present on things.
after that winter PD that I was fortunate enough to get to sit in on, I took so much away from the 2 little sessions that I got to go to. It's clear we've got plenty of folks here that could teach us a thing or two.
Absolutely. Lori, do you have any comments? You're on mute.
I agree with everything that's been said, and I love the idea of having a plan developed. And all sounds good.
And along with that, I totally agree. Making a plan and being intentional about it, I think is a really good idea. And taking our time, not just like feeling like we have to make a decision right now, because we don't. We can be intentional about it, take time, figure out what our priorities are and how to approach them. And then also, we can, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, but we can also be more formal in like our requirements to people who go. Like, maybe some written reflection, maybe some, I don't know, Google Doc or something that we fill out, because we just kind of informally, just verbally, anecdotally share what we've learned from the conferences, but we can probably formalize that a little bit, just to make sure that we are giving benefits to the whole board from our learning experience, so that we can make sure that we are sharing what we have learned in an effective way.
I mean,
Just
that's
an idea.
and I like that, because we can create like a Google form with questions that we have all agreed, like, okay, you're going to go to this conference, what are some questions that you want to know? Then we have those questions there, and then with a Google form, you just fill it out, and you just print it, and then you can present it and share it with everyone on the board. And so if we also come up with those questions ahead of time, so that way with every conference that we go, we are ready to present and to provide that information. So, yes, I agree with that as well.
I suggest the next step.
Absolutely.
So I think a good way sometimes of moving forward with things like this is if there were 3 board members that wanted to get together and put a draft together to bring back as a starting point for discussion.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really hard with a larger group to be able to like, what should we do? But it's easier if you have a document that you start with. So I don't think anybody needs to pick right now, but if that's something the board would want to do, you can think about if there's 3 of you that would like to be on a small work group, put something together for maybe the July meeting or and go from there. Sometimes that's a good way of getting the work done.
We can think about whether or not we want to be part of that group, and then we can just communicate through email
Yep.
and figure out who's interested and go from there.
Sounds great.
Okay, board director report is next. So, do we have? Yes. So, I'll go ahead and lead off as far as, I've been in this situation a couple of times to be part of not selecting board members for a different board. We've come close to having that happen before, but I don't think that's actually happened. We've had openings in our own board where we've selected people. Personally, and I don't think I'm alone on our board in this, is that politics don't belong in the boardroom. We are here for the kids. We are here to make the best decisions for the kids, for their success, so that all of the kids that we serve can meet their full potential, can have the support that they need in order to be successful. One of the things that I use to evaluate is like, why are you running? Where is your heart in are you running for political reasons? Are you running because this is, part of your political plan to become important or something? People who actually want to serve and are in it for the right reason, that put the kids first, and that they want to serve their community. That's what I look for. I look for people without a political agenda and that have a heart for service and a heart for kids. That's where I come from.
And I second that, but also for me, it's very important when, like Amy said, we have been very close to that we were put in a situation where we have to then appoint other board members in other school districts. But one of the things for me that is important is our students. Our students always will come first. To me is one of those key factors that this position that we're in as school board members, we're nonpartisan. It doesn't matter what your own beliefs are. That stays at home. But here in this public space, we have to look out for our students. And that is number one priority, our students and our families, and how our services are going to impact them. How is the decisions that we make going to impact the community? And that shouldn't reflect anyone's political views. That's why I do appreciate, I'm very grateful that I am a school board member, because it removes that political agenda. I don't want to be here on one side or the other. I'm here because I believe that every student deserves the education tailored to them. because every student is different. Every student has different needs. Every student deserves to thrive and feel successful and feel that they belong. And that is what I look for someone that has those same values, because they should always put the students first before themselves. And so that's one thing I do want to be public about. As many of you know how I am, to me, accessibility and the sense of belonging is very crucial. And because that helps our community and our students to thrive.
For me, I agree with both of you, and I would add to that, from my experience, limited with this group, but also working as a classified employee for GAPS for several years, just wanting to support our teachers and our classified people, all our support personnel, our aides, that bring so much passion, and for really a job that goes largely unthanked, I think, in so many ways. I think supporting our teachers for the goals to provide the best care they can for our children.
Absolutely.
So what's the ask again here? Are we're talking about how we go about, if we were in charge with appointing somebody, how we...
Yes, like how would we go about making that decision?
Okay. Well, I've been in that situation. I spent a term on the Greater Albany School Board, and during that time we appointed people. And on the city council, even in my short time there, I've appointed people. So it's honestly, it's very difficult. It's difficult to kind of stand and, it's easy to accept the will of the voters. It's much harder to say, I'm going to be part of the answer here. But, how I approach this, I think it was Vince Adams who brought forth the notion of, do you believe that every student can succeed in school, can learn? And that's, in a nutshell, that is the kind of question I ask myself, try to discern from the person applying. Do they believe that? Because as simple of a question it is, and you might think that is a very easy answer, I have found, even in the world of education and school boards, there are people who truly do not answer that question. I think fully in the affirmative. So that's the first thing I try to discern. Do they have some experience in it's pretty often that someone who taught, a retired teacher, or that could play into it, or retired administrator. Community involvement in general, and part of that is the notion that trying to figure out the person understands you're one of 5 or one of 7. The only role you have, or the only power you have, is when you meet together. So that just screams collaboration. And there are many ways in the community to serve on boards or commissions, or be part of a nonprofit activity that involves collaboration. So I would look for that too. So answering that question, collaboration, those are the kind of things, community involvement, that I would look for.
I think part of the question was, how would we go about this? And I don't think it's far-fetched to say we don't know, right? I think we know what our statutory obligation is. I don't know that we know exactly how we would do it, and I think that we would have to seriously consider the community that needs this from us, different from any other, because every community has different needs. All of that to say, I think the first thing that I hope we would do is immediately get OSBA on the board.
Yes.
In consultation with the process, because they're the experts. And they're going to be able to help guide us through the process, or at least advise us on what they believe, knowing that it is obviously a very contentious time in Corvallis. I would also, early on, I'm saying this, don't know how this would look down the road, but I think that we would need to figure out a way to get some stakeholder input on what the Corvallis community feels they need in a school board to see how it differs from what they've got. And that would mean hearing from all sides. So I think that that's part of it. And then I think it's pretty easy to say, based on some of the reading that I've done or meetings I've watched the live stream of, that there are a lot of feelings in Corvallis right now, and it may also be in our best interest to consider some type, I don't know if it's hired or professional, but some type of mediator may be necessary to help facilitate that conversation and help us to make the best decision for Corvallis. So that's my early thoughts on it. I just think that there's so much healing that needs to be done in that community that I don't think it's going to be just as easy as us collecting some applications, read them up on paper, throw 3 of 7 in or 4 of 7 in so that they've got a majority and they can get their last 2 in if that's how that's chosen to be done. Like I think there's some more work. We have to be very mindful, obviously, of the majority that we put in, and I think that, you know, we've got a lot of learning to do on exactly how to do that.
And I think if I may jump in and clarify something as well, is one thing that we would need to figure out is, and you brought this up, there's a lot of different pieces of, let's say there were 5 openings,
Right.
you know, is it the responsibility of this board to seat all 5 or just to seat 4?
Majority.
And then now there's a quorum. The policy in Corvallis is not clear on that. And so that would be a great thing to get legal counsel from OSB on, because I don't know the answer to that. But you can read in statute and you can read in the policy, and it doesn't state that. However, there are different interpretations that I've heard from people that say, oh, well, you only need to seat
Just enough for them to make their own
just a
decision.
quorum, and then they can do the rest. And they're like, well, I don't know if that's really the case. I think there are boards that have done that, but is that the right way? And that's where, you know, I think getting advice from OSBA and being able to say, even to OSBA, could we hire somebody for this time period to facilitate a process, to help facilitate, that honestly would help Amy as chair not have to chair a meeting like that, where she could be a participant as a board member. So those could be good things that you bring up that make good sense.
Yeah, I think, like, we were speaking kind of from, I appreciate your analytical take on the process of it, because I think the rest of us kind of
Think about
speaking from, like,
criteria, yeah.
like, how would we personally make a decision? But yes, rely heavily on guidance, because in a way, we're kind of in uncharted waters. And we want to make sure we do it right by the community, that we follow the law. And so we will rely, my intention as chair, to rely heavily on guidance from OSBA and legal counsel, make sure we're doing what we need to do. And we'll be very thoughtful at every step of the process.
And swift, I hope, if it comes up, we'll want to be swift, right? Because we are the Corvallis School Board at that point, correct?
My understanding of it is, yes, if there is no quorum there, then
We are.
there is,
So if they've got $1 million to spend, we're approving
then
it.
you're going to have to do it. So,
And
yeah,
that's not our community.
my advice to all of you would be, you know, when you look at it, as Denise, who is not here today, is the only representative on your board from Corvallis. And so I would absolutely recommend you be as swift as possible, because none of you were elected to be a part of this Corvallis School District Board. So you would want to seat that as quickly as possible to have people that live in Corvallis, that are invested in Corvallis, be the decision makers in Corvallis. Yeah.
Lori, do you have any input that you'd like to add?
Well, I hope that this discussion allays any fears that we would not approach this with seriousness and humility, and that we would work together as a board to be as swift as possible in our thoughtful, well-guided by OSBA process.
Thank you. I think for sure, from what I have seen from everyone in the board here is we all have, we all want to work, in a way that is going to help Corvallis in this situation. And I think we are going to look at things, not only the legal aspect of it, but making sure how the community feels. And because I feel like this board is very collaborative when it comes to working together and ensuring that our students are, up in a priority, and also the community. And so I feel like we would be asking the right questions when it comes to that moment. And so I have trust in our board that we're gonna do our best to help Corvallis in this situation for them to be able to navigate their next steps. No pressure.
Do we know the timeline?
If I remember right, and Will could correct me on this, I believe the signature gathering period goes through like April 9th or April 7th. Or 6th, yeah, sorry, I look at it, yeah, April 6th, so they have until April 6th to collect signatures. Then it would go on a ballot, there's a process for that, so, we're looking at later spring, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yep. And if that election were to happen, we would know at that point how many seats that we're looking at. And if it's less than a quorum, then you all are off the hook. Then it would be the rest of the Corvallis board that would be responsible for filling those seats if those people were recalled. And we'll know more at that point. And with Amy's guidance as chair, if it's something that she would like to see, and I kind of can see that we have some consensus about engaging with OSBA, getting some legal advice, that would be something that I would help Amy get that legal advice so that you would have that legal advice as board to be able to do it well.
I think the timing makes sense if as soon as we see it on a ballot, we know we better engage in that
Exactly.
immediately.
Yep.
Then, no sense
Absolutely.
in jumping ahead,
Yep.
incurring any costs that might come at that at this time. But as soon as we
Yeah.
see it hit a ballot, we probably need to start
Yeah.
diving in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be my recommendation if 4 seats end up on the ballot where there could be a quorum of the board recalled, I think it would make good sense to at least have some conversations and be able to plan out the timeline and think about what that would look like.
Imagine as soon as the county clerk makes the determination on the election results, then it's the next minute we're in, right? I mean,
Probably.
you can tell I'm a logistics guy and I like to have my ducks in a row.
Yes.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
What, they have like 10 days to validate the signatures, is that right, Will? And then 30 days to put it on the ballot if it's now been validated?
I don't want to speak out of turn. So, once we submit the signatures, they have 30 days to verify the signatures. If we submit enough verified signatures, the county will notify the incumbent. The incumbent has 5 business days to resign, or write a 200-word statement that will go on the ballot. After that 5-day period, the county has 30 days to complete.
Okay.
So
That's
roughly 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. Any other board members, just moving on to, just general board reports? Anyone have anything to share? Guess not. All right. Oh, thank you.
I
Lori.
just, I had an opportunity as a community member to, with some of the work that I do here in LC, to meet with our local superintendent. And I got a very positive report about the ESD's services in supporting a district in need. They had some personnel issues that I don't know the details of, but they were without a special ed teacher. And the ESD has been just really wonderful in helping. And so that's that was just, I love hearing about how we can keep things going for our students that we are responsible for serving.
Thank you.
That's all.
That's great to hear, yeah. That came out of, I regularly check in with our superintendents, and I had worried about Stacy a little bit. I checked in with her multiple times, hadn't heard back, and finally did the, really, are you okay? What's going on, you know, and ended up having a quick conversation with her, and she's like, well, actually, we could really use some help in this. I'm like, okay. And so our SPED staff, Autumn Baloney, and some of our SPED staff, I think Steve was involved in this as well, figured some things out pretty quickly. And yeah, it's great. We have a great staff that pulls together for our districts. That's really great to hear, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
I think that's what makes LBLESD such a good agency, because we are able to help our 12 component districts. And so I think in that, it really, I don't know, it makes me feel proud to be in the board and part of the LBLESD, because we are able to provide that assistance to a school district that needs it, because we're here for our 12 component districts, so.
We have specialists for that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to Cascade Regional Inclusive Services report.
Yeah, so we have Steve and Brandy here to do a presentation for us, and so thank you for coming this evening and presenting to the board.
Yeah, so my role, Steve Barnell again, my role will be to introduce the speaker tonight, and that's Brandy. And I like to prepare staff and make sure that they're ready to go and set them up. So that's why I invited the visitors earlier to talk about AAC.
That's why
I was gonna say, did you and Will, you're like, hey, let's talk about how great AAC people are.
Figured I'd start with that, and then she also is our traumatic brain injury expert, so I went ahead and fell and had a concussion last night to help her use that as well. So without further ado, Brandy.
All kinds of preparation, yeah.
Stories I can tell. Awesome. I am Brandina. Everybody just calls me Brandy Lancaster. I want to start by apologizing. You have two pieces of paper, and I just realized the second one, which I won't be going over, is not the most current letterhead, so your names are not accurate. How embarrassing. Let me present to the board.
I didn't even know.
Well, you know, in my world, one of you would have, and if I didn't say sorry.
And you know, I could also say, like, how many times do I look at a board packet before it goes out, but I did not look at the letterhead, I
And you
just
know
saw
what's
the top.
funny? I look at the letterhead all the time. Okay, so I'm a speech and language pathologist. That's my training. I work for LBLESD, and my primary role is an alternative and augmentative communication specialist. So we evaluate and train and help students and staff use AAC systems. And about 6 years ago, I became the traumatic brain injury liaison. At that point in time, there were 17 IEP students in our 12 component districts. So I just want to share a little bit of the statistics of what there should be in Oregon and where we are now. So in the state of Oregon, there are approximately 2,000 children a year who are seen in an emergency room or a hospital setting with a brain injury. That doesn't include children who don't see a doctor, urgent cares, primary care physicians. That's just hospitals and emergency rooms. Of those students, 15% of them will not recover.
So if you're looking at kindergarten through 12th grade in the state of Oregon, there should be 5,000 students with IEPs or traumatic brain injury. Sorry, 5,200. Right now, and this is the current data that I have from Siebert, who tracks that information with the Department of Education, we have 355 students statewide with IEPs or traumatic brain injury. That is up significantly. In our region, I am actually working with 49 students. So our region, our 3 counties, has one of the highest number of students, not because we have more brain injuries, but because I've spent extensive amounts of time training our case managers as well as our school psychologists. So here's some additional statistics. Not all of the TBIs are results of force injuries. Sometimes we're carrying luggage and we fall down the stairs. Car accidents, falls, child abuse, sometimes it's self-inflicted. I have worked with students with autism who were headbangers who think so hard that it caused concussion. And when I say traumatic brain injury, that is concussion, so life-altering brain injury. Anytime there's an injury to your brain from an external force, that's a traumatic brain injury. 1 in 5 children in a classroom has had some form of brain injury. 75% of our teachers have no training in brain injury or what a student with a brain injury looks like in class. 57% of school psychologists have no training in traumatic brain injury. Right? Wow. Yes.
All of ours do.
What I will say in the state of Oregon, Siebert and the liaisons for all of the different regions, there's 9, 10 regions technically, because there's Region 4 North and Region 4 South. We are Region 4 North. We have professors in education programs at many of the colleges within our state who work with Siebert, who are doing extensive training, much more extensive training with teachers and psychologists on brain injuries and what it looks like in the classroom. Oftentimes, the brain injuries, students with brain injuries are misidentified. So if a parent doesn't come forward and say, yeah, for me, I personally have 2 children with brain injuries. My son fell off of the shopping cart in his infant carrier at 7 months old and fractured his skull. That was a horrifying story to tell. It was embarrassing. So what we find is many times parents are not going to tell us that story. It takes some digging, or they don't think about it, because when you go to an emergency room, the emergency room doctor isn't necessarily well-versed in that. They've done a CT scan, the CT scan comes back normal. The only thing a CT scan is looking for is a bleed in the brain. But when you have a head injury, what happens is the brain moves and it stretches or shears axons, which dumps chemicals into the brain. That's damage also, not seen on the CT scan. So the ER doctor says, they're fine.
Getting nervous.
You're right.
Steve, sheared axon.
Checking in on you the rest of the week.
I don't even remember what happened.
So, for me, as an example, my son's CT scan was fine. They sent us home. He's great. He started having seizures a week later. Took him to a neurologist. His skull had been fractured. They didn't see that in the MRI. They didn't see the diffuse axonal injury. So parents leave an emergency room thinking everything's fine. And then as a psychologist starts talking, have there been any head injuries? And that's really what one of the biggest things we worked on is getting psychologists and case managers to ask the right questions. Then we can start doing digging. Re-injury from sports is a huge problem, or sports concussions. And the big driving force for Max's Law and Jenna's Law, which are the return to sports. Are you guys aware of Wen's Law, or House Bill 3007? It is a brand new law that was enacted this past summer, and it is the return to school. Basically, right before the world shut down, our legislature passed House Bill 4140. Don't quote me on that, but it put into place that districts may accommodate a student who's had a concussion. They may, they don't have to. What then happened was schools weren't doing that because it's not required. So there was this awesome form, parents would come in and say, my child's had a concussion. That's a bummer. And nothing was being done. So, Siebert and the legal team, myself, my daughter, and many other amazing athletic trainers, school psychologists, went to the state this past year, and my daughter was an amazing, I may cry, I'm sorry, an amazing witness. She told her story, talked about when she broke her collarbone, accommodations like that. They could see the break. They could see that she couldn't do her work. She had 5 concussions, 3 of which were from athletics and identified by their athletic trainer. Her mother was the TBI specialist who brought somebody else in, and the school would not accommodate her. She went from a 4.32 GPA to a 2.0. She was 10-day drop 2 weeks before graduation. She did graduate, getting ready to start nursing school. So that's where Gwen's Law came from. So we worked with the legislature. That's kind of part of our job as liaisons, is to work to help change the laws, to help better support our students with special needs, not only the students with IEPs, but students who may just need that temporary accommodation.
Fine, let's go, time.
Fine, totally fine.
Unloaded.
Not have said that. So,
We need to talk.
how the structure is supposed to be set up is that there's the TBI liaison at the ESD. And then in each component district, there should be a concussion management, like, head team, well, a concussion management,
Coordinator.
like a district representative that works with concussion management teams out at the school, and then there's specialists, you know, that have done some training with them. Right now, there's me. I do a ton of training. I am doing a training for a student who has not been identified for the IEP yet. They're in the process because I see that this child is just failing. The staff is trying very hard, but they don't understand what the ramifications of those injuries are. We're working on that still. It's very slow going. But the districts are building some of their own concussion management teams, which will alleviate that piece from what I've been doing. So the 2 main purposes for my position in the teams is to provide consultation and training. I'm not the only one that provides training. University of Oregon, Siebert, which is the Center on Brain Injury Research and Training, they provide online training for anyone, free of charge, every month, usually on a Friday at 8 a.m., but those are also recorded and available to anyone, anytime, forever. Telling you this on the Siebert there. Resources to staff and families. So when a student is placed on an IEP, the first thing I do when the IEP is done is I email the team all of the resources that I have for them, as well as the form that I've given you. Sorry that it's not the right letterhead, because I'd like to be able to say, please, if you know someone who's had a brain injury, hand this out. I give this out everywhere.
We can help get that corrected, and we'll get enough. It's okay. Lisa and I will work on it.
No, I have to for the
Yep.
resource fair.
Yep, it's okay. I'll get an electronic version out to us.
One really, really important brand new resource to people of Oregon, not just children. The Oregon Department of Health Services now has a TBI website, and anyone, a caregiver, parent, person with a TBI contacts them, and they help guide anyone with a TBI or supporting someone with a TBI to resources within the state of Oregon to help support them. Services, vocational rehab, they get a caseworker that helps support their ability to find resources in their region. And I'm off track, sorry.
No worries, you're doing good.
One of the other things that we do is we track any services, so anytime I breathe on TBI, I am tracking that data, for CBER, not just in my documentation as a specialist, but for CBER and the Department of Education, so that they can see how much services students with traumatic brain injury are getting. The other piece to that is students with acquired brain injuries, so those are injuries that aren't from an external force. It could be cancer, it could be a stroke that a child has had. Those are not considered brain injuries. I will still provide resources to them because it's still a brain injury, it's just not an external force. So we do document that so that ODE can see the difference, that we are providing that support, and that a brain injury is a brain injury, whether it's something from the outside or something internal. I think I pretty much covered it all.
Awesome.
And I didn't read everything to you too.
I'd like to share what I learned from Brandy's report, because it sounds like you can't expect the same high level of work out of me for the next 2 days.
One high level of work.
Oh, there's that.
Tomorrow I'm gonna come in and turn your lights off.
I turned them out last night.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
I do.
Yes.
So it says, when you share there are 5,200 children that should currently, but only 350 out of those 5,200 children are getting. What? That's a big,
Where those children are probably identified is as students with disabling conditions of learning disability,
Okay.
behavior disorder,
Okay.
or other health
I was
impairment.
gonna say, does that mean that TBI then is either the secondary eligibility for the IEP or it's a primary? How?
So these are only, that 355 is only students with a primary
Only,
disability.
so no other,
No.
like.
So I
other
do have
dis-
about 3 students with a secondary disability
Okay,
of TBI. Those are not counted in that
Okay.
355. They haven't figured out how to do
Yeah.
that yet. The problem is,
yeah.
with that, is I am not allowed to provide services. So if a child does not have traumatic brain injury as a
As a
qualifying
primary-
criteria,
Yeah.
they do not have access to my support on their IEP. And
That's a disservice.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because that's kind of what I was thinking.
Everybody working on this agrees,
Yeah.
and they're working to try
Yeah.
and change that.
And it's a scale issue as well. When you look at the grant that we
Yeah.
use to pay for Brandy's time, it's 5 hours a week
Yeah.
that each district gets.
Really?
Or, I mean,
No.
all 12 districts.
I get
Yeah,
5 hours.
5 hours for the region.
For the
Vastly
region.
inadequate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely, but Brandy doesn't always work
Yeah.
the hours she should, so anyway, yeah, she does a good job.
Yeah.
Does a good job.
Currently, between my 2
Yeah.
programs, my caseload is just shy of 140 students. I have about 90 students for AAC, and I have counted, checked before, I have 49 students with IEPs for TBI, and there's 8 pending. So students who I've already been brought in
Yeah.
on.
Randy, I have a question. With that limited time you just described, I'm wondering, in the training, if you're finding that coaches are willing to, who are coaches of high contact sports, to be educated in this way, you know, that's what I would guess.
Yeah, and it's not all, but it is also, a part of the culture of the
Right.
region that we live in. Dust yourself off. I mean, so one of my daughter's injuries was in football. Her face bounced off the turf, and it was dust herself off and get back in the game. When she came back, like, she should have been taken out immediately. She said she was fine, so they sent her back in, as they always do. Fortunately, because I'm her mom, she came out after that second play and said, "I'm just not feeling right, I need you to." But it is very much a dust yourself off and put yourself back in the game, put yourself back out on the wrestling mat. We need you at the top of that cheerleading pyramid. Cheerleading, lots of head injuries in cheerleading, lots. So it is, and I, at the onset of every year, I reach out to athletic directors If a district has athletic trainers, I reach out to them, I reach out to school nurses, I send them all my resources and all the trainings for the year. I invite them to any additional trainings. I very rarely get, and that is not to say that they don't care. They are overworked also, you know.
And OSAA requires them to go
Yeah.
through a certain number of things as
Yeah.
well, so.
And it's
So with students that say they say their primary, eligibility for an IEP is communication disorder and their secondary is TBI. If let's say they are no longer eligible for communication because they tested out, they're no longer need the services and now they're only TBI, is that when you get those students in or just?
if they have an eligibility on their IEP of TBI, I can provide service.
Okay, so
Yeah.
only TBI. So
Yeah.
in this case, with this particular, let's say, student, because they no longer have communication disorder, they're no longer getting speech therapy, only TBI is their only eligibility, then they will come and you would be able to provide.
I don't provide services.
No,
to
but
students. I
the
provide
resources.
consultation and
Yeah.
resources. So if it is a situation where the student's traumatic brain injury
Yeah.
requires them to have goals in the
Yeah.
IEP, then they would probably already have like resource services. So yes, that would,
Okay.
if they don't require an IEP, what we would look at then is them transitioning to a 504. So if the student doesn't need
Yeah.
IEP goals
Yeah.
to make academic progress, just some of those accommodations
Yeah.
to the school setting, we would move them off of an IEP
Okay.
onto a 504. And technically, the way my position is
Yeah.
funded, I only work with students with IEP,
Okay. Yeah,
technically.
I'm just wondering what needs to be done, I guess, to be able to make sure the 5,200 students, or I guess 4,900 and, I'm not doing math, okay? I'm not gonna do math right now, all right? But the rest of the students, that they get those resources, because like, that to me is such a big number. And if they're going and navigating school with this, like, we want every student to succeed and to thrive. And that to me is way too big of a number statewide.
So it starts with education.
Yeah.
And we're, our liaisons and all of our counterparts out within the district, we're doing our best.
Yeah.
One of the things I had asked, ODE, we meet monthly, all of the liaisons
Yeah.
meet monthly, and we have a forget it.
Getting late. It's
We
okay.
have someone from ODE
Yeah.
at that meeting.
Yeah.
Our Vector Solutions training has a 20-minute concussion training. I beg them to make that a requirement for all
Yeah.
school districts, for all employees. I mean, I can't tell you how many ESD employees I have met in my time here who've had concussions and needed some type of accommodation in the workplace.
Everybody looks at Steve.
No, even beyond you. Several when the airbag exploded in
Yeah.
her face, that was my daughter's second concussion, was the airbag. Boy, my tongue is getting really rubbery.
No, I really
Sorry.
appreciate all of your information, because it's like, it's important for us to know as school board members, like, this is what's happening. Because what can we do, right, to make sure that our legislators, that our representatives, ODE knows why we need funding. We need funding to be able to support our students, in this case, who have a TBI.
Yeah.
And 5 hours is not
Yep.
going to cut it, so.
And it's a constant battle.
Yeah.
It is. So, recommendations I could give is trying, I mean, that's a starting point. If we can make, I don't know who decides what we have to watch in Vector, but if that could be a piece of the training, is that
Yeah.
what we call it, Vector Solutions?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
You know,
And there's a lot of
Thank
aspects
you.
of this that, there's lots of different avenues that we would have to go about. We'll pull as many levers as we can, and there's still more to do.
Yeah.
I did a training with the sped directors last week. I have done, meetings with superintendents in the past, nurses. I try and get in whenever they have PLCs, where it's a group of professionals who work with TBI and just train.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the
Really
opportunity.
educational, and
Yeah.
it's great to
Yeah.
hear about what
Appreciate it.
services.
Yeah,
We're
and all the
providing.
amazing work that you're doing, and thank you.
It's very personal to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. Steve, you need to go home and sleep.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not go to sleep.
I don't know, ask Brandy what you're supposed to do before you go home.
I do
The
appreciate
sleeping's
the
okay, it's good for you.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Yeah,
It's good for you.
thank
Yeah.
you so much, Brandy.
Thank
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
Have a
much.
good evening.
All right,
Bye.
thank you. Up next is Human Resource Matters, Christina.
So if you mosey down to page, I believe it's 17, so some context for the new board members. We try to put our agency calendars in front of the board sometime between January and March each year. Last year, we opted to do, for the full agency-wide calendars, do 2 years in a row. We do very specific calendars for early intervention. They were able to go ahead and get 2 years done last spring, so we're not seeing theirs. But long-term care and treatment is a little bit unique in the fact that they are also required to align with the Corrales School District calendar, which does not necessarily come out in 2-year cycles. And so we were only able to get last year's, done for this year, and we are presenting now the long-term care and treatment calendar for the 26-27 school year. A couple of things that this is a unique year coming up in how both the start date of the school year plus the winter break hits. It kind of causes chaos about every 5 to 7 years in calendars in Oregon. And so there was some good discussion that happened with staff around the start date for staff as well as for the students. We do have some leeway where we can, I don't know if separate's the quite word, but we don't necessarily have to lockstep and follow Corrales. We have some flexibility there. So that was one area where we, executed that flexibility. Another is that the way the calendar has run, it has prevented long-term care and treatment from participating in our winter in-service for multiple years. So we have gone away from that and changed it so that that group could have the same winter in-service as the rest of the agency. So that is going to happen this next year. So that's included in this calendar that has not happened in the past. Nancy, is there anything else you want to Our new principal out there did quite a bit of work with staff, just kind of having them give
It
input.
was very collaborative.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
collaborative.
So we do need an action on this.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I move to approve the long-term care and treatment LTCT 2026-2027 work calendar.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the long-term care and treatment LTCT 2026-2027 work calendar. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against say no. All right, it has been approved unanimously for the long-term care and treatment 2026-2027 work calendar. All right, and then up next is Rocco with business matters.
Woohoo, the fun part.
Bring it on home for the night.
Woo!
All right, let's swing on down to page 20 of the packet, take a look at revenue for the month. So we brought in just shy of $4 million in January. That is split up roughly with $1.2 million coming off the general fund, and $2.7 coming off the special revenues. The special revenues is us collecting on the grants that we spent before. So you spend grants for 3 months, you file for reimbursement, you get the money back in. That's our 3 large grants coming in for the quarters, that $2.7 million coming in. On the expense side, on page 21, this is a fairly mundane month. Everything's coming in about like we expected.
We've said before, we're running a little bit under. $3.4 million is a little bit low for us, but we are understaffed in a couple of areas on there, and so that is basically keeping expenditures down on a month-by-month basis. As we go through, let's take a look down at cash balance report on the bottom of page 22. We are sitting in a great cash position. There's $22 million in the LGIP at the end of the month. That's what we're earning interest off of, $81,000 of interest, $25 million total. As we look at cash balance trending on the next few pages on there, you'll see a little bit of a leveling out with where we've been. That average cash balance has been higher because our collections have been earlier in the year, which helps us out with earned interest. Other than going through the standard on the month, I put a note on the report as well. One thing I did want the board to know is that we will not receive, or actually I can say at this point in time, we have not received our state school fund payment for February. So there was an extension on audit. Audits were due in by February 1st, and we were not able to make that audit date, so they're withholding the payment until the audit is complete. I do want to go through the particulars of why audit is late. We had we had three things really line up on us. So first off, earlier in the year, prior to December, or right around December, we sent the note out. With the federal government shutdown, there was the delay in getting the guidance out on the single audit. So anybody who has federal funds has to go through the single audit piece. And with the delay in guidance, it basically ground all audits in the state of Oregon to a halt if you had anything on there. We were amongst them. So that created a backup in audit firms who normally are sort of stacking that up so they can get it, and everything came through at once. Beyond that, the single audit guidance was released, and at that point in time, we engaged with SIO. So SIO basically had a very quick turnover on their business manager. We stepped in to get things done for them. They were very behind on the audit, so our team switched over, dropped our audit to pick theirs up and get it over the finish line. We got them over the finish line, which was terrific. And then the final piece was we were still on target to get there for the February date, but the ESD right now is going through and converting Infinite Visions, which is the accounting software that we and all of our districts use. We're converting it to the cloud, and we converted to the cloud in early January, and it went fabulously, except for one thing. The one thing we couldn't get to work is we couldn't get the external sign-in that the auditors have into the system. And so when they lost access to the system, they couldn't query out the final numbers that they needed in order to complete the stuff for the reports. So we did have a compounding effect that's going through that has delayed the audit, pushed the payment out. Sean, who's our controller, and I have been pushing them today, trying to get them firm guidance. Will we have this in place by March? And they will not give us firm guidance on that. They are scheduled to present the audit to you in March. I have almost no doubt that that will happen, but the big question is, will the audit complete in time for the March state school fund payment? I don't know at this point on here. We will get the state school fund payment. You can look at our cash balance and see we're not hurting, we're going to be okay, but I just do want to make sure that since this audit is for the board on there, you understand what's going on with the audit.
Appreciate it. I was going to ask, but you already answered my questions.
And they did accept the board's invitation.
They have.
The invitation for March, and
They
they
have.
have accepted it.
Then they should.
They know what the date is.
They
Yep.
know.
And if you want to see a worse version, because this really isn't really that bad, I mean, it's just, you could watch the movie Perfect Storm, Sebastian Younger's story, how converging things can happen, but no one's gonna die, it's gonna be okay.
And we still get the funds.
And we get the funds, yeah.
We get the
We're still
funds.
gonna get the funds.
I will say more than anything else, Sean and I would just really love for last year to be over. And so.
And it's just that last year isn't over until the
Yeah.
audit's done, yeah.
Last year isn't over, and we're already into next year's planning, so.
Don't pull your hair out over it.
I
Oh, that was good.
Any questions on financials?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the Medicaid,
Mhm.
I see that on the current period, January, no funding, no money came in.
Mhm.
And so is that did we not bill during that month of January for that?
No, Medicaid is Medicaid administrative claims.
Okay.
So it's not us doing billings for Medicaid and receiving it. It is us doing claims on behalf of our districts, and
Okay.
it only happens periodically.
Oh, okay.
It's a quarterly type of thing.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I saw it down where it says current year to date. I saw it there and I'm like, wait, where is it?
Yep.
Where's the month? Where is it? So, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Lori, any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to superintendent report.
Okay, I've got a couple of things, so I'm gonna direct you to pages 26 and 27 and just give you a few highlights. I'll let Steve know that, I wanted to give him some praise, with the board here and a couple of his, updates. So if you look at number 5 on page 26, it's the task was to implement a more efficient and effective system for caseload management and the collection of service notes and data. Actually, this started with Tim and his team a year ago to put together a system to capture service notes and work through that. There were a variety of different challenges with staff last year as we were going through this process, but when Steve stepped in this summer, he immersed himself in the group trail implementation and has really been instrumental in moving it along. And so if you see Steve around, I'd rather have him go and get some rest after his little tumble than to hear this, but really great work. The other one that has Steve's name on it is number 6 under Objective 2 on page 27. Support each regional inclusive service discipline in developing a team goal to improve services across the year. And you can see that they have a goal, they're working to develop systems and document them in a department handbook. One of the things that Steve realized, and this is something that happens in leadership transitions, is that to some degree, any of us in our leadership roles, if we don't have a complete picture of things, you are basically trying to manage a secret. You really don't know what's going on. Well, Steve got in his interim role, and both he and Autumn Maloney really have realized that, there's actually not a lot of standardization in terms of documentation around services and what people are doing. They're all great providers, but in terms of, in this instance, what do we do? Do we have a guidance document? Not really. And so he's been working with them on codifying guidance, starting to put together a handbook, and there's a lot more work to be done, but he and Autumn are doing great work with that. So I wanted to just and then the last one is actually back on page 26 that I want to give kudos to Christina, one of which was today, but Christina has been, I should say, Professor Wonderly has been doing a great job with doing HR trainings with our leaders around various HR-y sort of things. That's a highly technical way. It's a real term. Yeah.
HR, really?
HR-y, yeah. I'm trying to keep it light here, Mary.
Okay, Miriam.
Anyway, she's had several modules that she's walked our team through, and the one that she actually did today, just had an all-administrative meeting today, and we walked through investigation processes. And so people are learning a lot, and we're making sure that we're building a leadership team that has a lot of capacity to be able to do a whole variety of things that are required of us. So kudos to Professor Wonderly, so thank you.
I really appreciate her, Professor Wonderly's training that she's been doing each month. It really has been helpful.
Yeah. You could definitely see, and this is absolutely part of who Christina is. Like, she's a teacher through and through, and I believe wholeheartedly that in our administrative roles, many of us start as teachers. Some people don't, but when we're in this education sphere, we all need to tap into and be those teachers. So, and I've seen that as we've developed our team, that lots of people have done that. I mean, Nancy's had roles to play in terms of educating our leaders and staff. Rocco has had multiple times to do that. Rocco did that just a week ago with our staff during a agency chat. Tim has done all kinds of education things, so our executive team is definitely in that. So it's awesome. I love seeing it. The other thing that I have is not something that's in your packet because it's not really something that I necessarily have to bring to you, but it's something that I want you to be aware of because it could be something that might trip us up at some point. Or if I want to make the joke better, it just might not go up and down. But we actually have some elevator maintenance that needs to happen this summer. And so a little bit of a backstory for our newer board members. When we did this renovation, we were really trying hard to stay within a certain budget. One of the things that came up was replacing our elevator, which was hugely expensive, and we just did not have the budget to do it. This is where hindsight is always 20/20. It would have been awfully nice to replace that old elevator when the building was shut down for a whole entire year, because now we need to actually do a retrofit of the elevator, and it's a little bit more problematic when there's people in the building. Our plan is this, is that we need to do this elevator retrofit this summer. It's going to take about 6 weeks. We're actually planning on creating workstations for any staff, and it will not impact the public-facing side of our services. So our evaluation center and everything is on the main floor here. Doesn't need an elevator for that. We actually don't need the elevator to get equipment out of the basement because we have a ramp out of the basement where we can go in from the loading dock. It's really about staff workspaces, and so what we're going to do is we're going to provide other workspaces for staff that might need the elevator. So that's something that we're working through. We'll work through that process. Now, we ended up looking for multiple quotes because something like this costs quite a lot of money, and you need to get, a few quotes. We actually got 2 quotes back. One quote was slightly less than the other. We're talking within a few $1,000s. However, the quote that we're going to go with is actually the company that's already providing maintenance for our elevator, and they just have more knowledge of what's needed and making it a lot smoother. And interestingly enough, the quote came back at $149,000, which is $1,000 less than what I need for your approval, for board approval. So I can sign this without a problem, but it is so close to the threshold. I just wanted you to be aware, because if there's some reason at some point this summer that this work's being done where it goes more than $150,000, I will come to you, even if it's in a quick Zoom meeting or one of our meetings, to say, hey, can you just approve this so that we actually are covering our bases with the cost. So that's just a heads up. The work's going to get done. If I don't sign this, and what I've been told is if I don't sign this in the next week or so, we won't be on the schedule. So we're going to get on the schedule and we're going to get this done, because if we wait one more summer, it will probably be $160,000 instead. So
and it'll be easier to do during the summer than
exactly. It needs to happen during the summer. There's a lot more people here during the school year, so.
So I do have a question regarding the ADA accommodation, since the elevator is going to be out. My concern extends more to the privacy of the staff that need ADA accommodation.
So number one, we have no staff that have ADA accommodations.
Okay.
And so if any, at this point, there are people that are just utilizing the elevator in an informal sort of way.
Okay.
And so if any of them do need ADA accommodations, they can work through a process, but at this time, it's not something that's an issue.
Okay, I would just,
We checked that before we started this process.
Okay, good, because to me, privacy and ADA is very, important to me, so I want to make sure that we respect the privacy, especially if we are going to give them a new workstation place, then that's going to be obvious, where's, this
I think the
person?
intent is that we would provide a space with other options.
Okay.
Wouldn't necessarily be like that is your space.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the plan actually would be utilize some of these spaces, put down some drop-down workspaces, so anybody that can use them. There are a number of people that use the elevator that, you know, like, we don't have any ADA accommodations now, that might not even get ADA accommodations if they needed to ask a doctor. They just like to use the elevator.
Yeah.
And people can choose.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure, that was just one of my.
Yep, absolutely.
People use the elevator in our building simply because of the cost of it, and they want their money's worth out of it. That'd be Rich Baloney rides it every time he comes to the building, just because he has
Like,
to pay for it.
we put this in, we're gonna use it.
We're gonna use it.
Let's make sure it works. That's funny. That is all I have.
Okay. All right, then we'll just wrap stuff up. So there's some information only at the end of the agenda for you to peruse at your pleasure. And then important dates, we have the board training that we decided on for March 3rd. That's our OSB, or training with Vince from OSBA on the evening. I think it's at Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Tuesday evening, March 3rd. And then Tuesday, March 9th is our regular board meeting. That is a week earlier than it would normally be, but it's because there are staffing decisions in March that need to be made by a certain date. And so instead of being the third Tuesday, it's going to be the second Tuesday. And so that's why that's a little earlier than usual. And then I wanted to, it's not on here, but I wanted to talk about the open house. This is something that we started. I think the special education fair has gone on for longer, but a couple of years ago, I think we've done it twice now,
Yes.
where we've
Since the building reopened.
yeah, exactly. Since the newly renovated building, like, we wanted people to be able to see what it looks like now. And so it's an open house and also the special education fair. And board members are invited. It is April 7th, which is also a Tuesday. And board members are invited. It's a great time to learn about the different so there's also community resources that are not like services that we directly provide, but then we do have tables for our different departments too. So it's a great time to learn more about the services that we provide. So
It's actually great for new board members. It's a great PD session if you're thinking about your PD
Absolutely.
conversation that you had earlier.
absolutely.
What time?
We were starting at 6. And
5 to 7.
5 to 7, yeah.
Yep.
We'll send out, the flyers just got completed, I think it might have been just last Thursday or Friday. I'll send out, the flyers while Lisa and I can work on that.
And the March, date is actually March 10th for the board meeting. I have the nights on there, but it is the 10th.
Oh, March 10th, okay. For the
For the
board
Tuesday.
meeting, the Tuesday board meeting, yep. All right, thank you, appreciate that clarification. And then the next one is, for anyone interested in the NSBA National Board Association Conference, that's Friday through Sunday, April 10th through 12th, and then Tuesday, April 21st is our regular board meeting, and I believe that is it. So I'll go ahead and adjourn at 7, I think.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, yes, Lori.
I wanted to find out a little more about the timeline for our evaluation of Jason. So I thought it was March was when we were going to need to do that, and if there was a form, just remind me.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in March, we will have another executive session where we'll review the process again, and then right after that, you'll get an email from Lisa that will have the form and everything for you to fill out, and then towards the last 2 weeks of March, you'll have time to work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Good catch, thanks for asking.
Then we approve your evaluation in April.
Well, actually, in April is when the chair would work on things, and in May or June would be the approval of the.
And then do we need to talk about your contract?
And then the contract would be that same time. Yep. Absolutely.
Thank
Great.
you, Lori.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 7:38.